Okay. I hyper-focused on this today, so if you don't like it, I don't want to know.
2, 3, 4. Ever wonder if you're a rascal or if ADHD's to blame? You can't censor yourself like we've censored this song. Your focus in life is a crying shame. Am I a rascal or just ADHD? It's hard to know which one it could be. But don't you worry, 'cause we'll figure it out together on this podcast, no doubt.
So I hope you like that. I did it in Canva. I also dropped the Canva link for thumbnails, which I see squirrel. The fact that I saw that squirrel at the exact moment that my brain said squirrel, like, I can't actually believe that. That is hilarious. And I'm just going to say rascal instead of the other thing because that's what the intro says. Am I the rascal for telling my husband to stop repeatedly using certain phrases? Throwaway account and changing certain details. Background: husband, male 49, and I, female 47, have been married for 15 plus years and have a young teen son together. No other kids. Husband has been working through family trauma over the years in various forms of therapy, and I recently went through therapy as well, as has our son, for ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder. Part of having a kid with ADHD and ODD is that he has no filter, can relate, and when things bug him and annoy him, he just blurts them out. Husband tends to be very high and mighty about all his years of therapy and has a really hard time being called out on certain things and many times refuses to change his approach, even if it annoys everyone else. He thinks he knows better because of all his years of therapy. It came to a head today during breakfast when our son asked him to please stop telling him to stop being critical.
Squirrel!
In case people want to jump in and chat about it, what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to make you give a disclaimer of sorts. Shall I ask ChatGPT to write it quick before we carry on? Write a disclaimer for me to get my guests to read on a podcast that they will follow the rules and not swear or be offensive. This disclaimer is hilarious. Welcome to our podcast. We are thrilled to have you as a guest and look forward to a great conversation. To ensure our show remains enjoyable and respectful for all, we kindly ask you to adhere to the following guidelines. 1. No swearing. Please avoid using any offensive or inappropriate language during the recording. 2. Respectful dialogue. Engage in respectful and considerate conversation, refraining from making any offensive or discriminatory remarks. By participating in this podcast, you agree to follow these guidelines. Thank you for helping us maintain a positive and inclusive environment for our audience. I'm just going to close the door quick. That's a great tram announcement voice you're using. So I did a lot of voiceover work on Upwork a few years ago because like radio. Where was I going with this? Oh, and I got so many requests from people in Europe to do their phone recording. Also, if you ever watch Love Island UK, the beginning, she says, "You are watching on demand. Please do not try to vote or enter into any other interactivity as it may not count and you may still be charged." And I have to say that every single time. You still have to remember to go check it. Okay, yeah, good point. Anyone who joins, I'm going to leave it up to you to remind me. It came to a head today during breakfast when our son asked him to please stop telling him to stop being critical. Husband uses that phrase whenever our son is being mean or gets frustrated at himself for doing something wrong. It's been going on for months now, and it seems like he says it at least 10 times a day. Okay, so our son asked the husband to stop telling the son to stop being critical. Son asked husband not to say to son. I think I get it. It's been going on for months now, and it seems like he says it at least 10 times a day. It shuts down the conversation as it pisses off our son because he uses it so much, and it's lost any meaning at this point. I asked him to please start using some other words, as it just seems like the term is overused, and our son has been asking him over and over to stop. I'm so confused. Who's saying stop being critical? Son is saying it a lot, or husband saying it a lot? I gave him some options so he can be more specific. Stop being mean, stop saying nasty things, stop being a bully. But he shut down the conversation and called me critical. No one can say anything to him because we're being critical and wrong. Okay, so this is husband. Husband is the one. Let me just remove that so you don't see the judgment. From then on...
Squirrel!
Oh, I have so many cats in here. From then on, he refused to talk to me. He said goodbye to our son, but refused to say goodbye to me as I approached him for a kiss goodbye and blamed me for his running late for work. I said, okay, be that way. He called me critical as he left the house. Husband doesn't have ADHD, does he? You might need to do an assessment, though. To add, this isn't the first time he refuses to change a phrase, even for little things. For the longest time, our son asked him to please stop saying screen time because it made him feel like a baby, and he refused, making our son get pissed. I asked him what the big deal was with just saying computer time. There are other examples as well, but these two were the biggest. I feel like he's being stubborn and not doing something basic that would ease tensions and ridiculous hills to die on. Our son feels disrespected when he just stubbornly continues. Was it wrong to ask him to please use other words, especially when it affects our son? Well, son is being critical. Dad tells him to stop. Okay, that's what I understood as well. So we need to vote. Is the husband the rascal or is the wife? Do, 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 do. I'm going to go art list and I'm going to find waiting music.
Please hold the line and we will answer you.
I'm busy trimming this down, and I'm not even kidding. For about 5 minutes, I was clicking around art list, looking at different things. And the next sentence will make so much sense when you hear that. This isn't a rabbit hole squirrel moment at all. Husband needs to get over his issues and listen to his son and his wife. And the whole acting like a child and not giving her a kiss goodbye. Grow up, buddy. The father's use of the word critical is totally acceptable. The term never changes. It's consistent, and by changing his speech, it would add ambiguity, and that's unnecessary. Ooh, so we have opposing opinions. Here's where I'm at. I think that given the child has ADHD and ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, believing that the child is genetically related to the father and the father gets unreasonably angry or frustrated when someone gives him a what's the word? When someone tells him to do something, gives him like a command, then he gets almost unreasonably upset. Makes me wonder if maybe a daddy-o needs to be tested. Because he certainly does seem somewhat oppositional. Maybe if he asked his son what he would prefer to be informed that he is being overly critical. Yeah, I think both parents are being kind of childish. I don't think the mom should be bringing it up with the dad in front of the kid if it's causing tension between the mom and the dad. Winchester baby, do you want to go out? Hello? Come up here. Come, puppy. Come, puppy. She's not a puppy. In case you're new, she's a cat. However, we don't know why. She only responds to puppy. Now she's angry. Let the son choose the wording if it's causing an issue. Yeah, I think that the both adults need to just be grown-ups and they need to have the conversation. And if the dad has had so much therapy, he would surely understand that if it's causing an issue for the child, it's smarter just to do something. Like, they need to have a middle ground. The son having ADHD and ODD does not mean that he can't have any commands. The dad is saying it to the child because the child is being critical. So sounds like taking parenting advice from the child. That's kind of where I'm torn, because on the one hand, it shouldn't be such a big deal for the dad, unless, of course, he also has ADHD and ODD. Maybe it's a case of like they're too similar. But the child has ADHD, right? That is what she said. Yeah, he's got ADHD. He can understand. It's not, I don't think it's that big a deal. Like, they just need to have a conversation. It certainly does not need to land up on Reddit, I'll tell you that much. So what's the vote? Like if for example the son was she's on the back of the chair. If for example the son was on the spectrum and kind of higher up, and potentially there could be some speech situations, or then I might understand. But what is the son going to do when he reaches the workplace and somebody repeats something? And if he is being critical, I certainly don't like the mom's example of saying, stop being a bully. That's going to cause more upset. You don't want to be putting in your kids' mind that they're a bully. And if they are a bully, then, you need to figure out the root cause. Something's wrong there. The annoyance of repetitive speech is closer to Asperger's than ADHD, in my opinion. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, if it was leaning towards meltdown territory, this is a hard one because I haven't had an assessment for autism, but there's so many things that cross over. Like, I have ADHD and I have sensory processing disorder and potentially pathological defiance disorder. So if you tell me to do something, I'm going to say no. And then I'm going to be really annoyed. Similarly, if you tell me I can't do something, I will do it to prove you wrong. But then, like, there's a lot of things that cross over, like words that sound strange and like one line of a song, they'll get stuck in my head. So prime example, I wish I didn't have to say this because it's going to go around in my head a million times, but I'm just going to say it and then it can go around all of our heads. There is a footballer whose surname is Mbappe. My brain, I'm not even joking, for approximately 2 weeks, anytime I tried to think of anything, all I could think of was Mbappe, Mbappe, Mbappe. I don't even watch football. My family watches football. Why was it stuck in my head? Like, words just get stuck. And as far as I know, I'm not on the spectrum, but I don't know. Like, oh, wait, I also think, Dominus, are you meaning the dad could potentially have Asperger's? I also think I might be wrong, but I think they updated the wording to just be on the on the autism spectrum. The same as, like, technically they changed it from ADHD and ADD to ADHD C is combined, H is hyper, and I is inattentive. Doesn't change anything for me. Like, I have the diagnosis and doesn't bother me. But I don't want to say the wrong wording and then people are upset with me in the comments or whatever. Next one. Not parenting advice from the kid, but more of a choosing your battles. Teach him or them to talk it through to find a suitable solution for both of them. Agreed. And I think that my issue is that, first and foremost, the parents, I don't need these on and they're squeezing my head. The parents need to be on the same page. It shouldn't be so difficult for two parents to get on the same page. What is the problem? Why is the mom getting so attached to this? Why is the son getting so attached? Why is the dad getting so attached? Mom and dad need to be on the same page. Then they need to talk to the son, and the three of them need to figure it out. But you can't have mom and son and dad. You need to, parents have to be on the same page, especially if he has ODD. If one parent's giving one lot of commands and the other parent's giving different commands, who's the child supposed to listen to? He's probably not going to listen to either because they're both giving commands. So, if there was any time to speak to your child, to speak to your partner before speaking to your child, it would be now. Am I the rascal for starting a fight with my mom over keeping my ADHD from me? Oh, that's going to be a good one. Also, some of these are specifically ADHD, but I did pick some that are more like the person maybe doesn't know, they don't have the diagnosis. So I just wanted to get the ones that I know specifically. I don't have to redact or anything. Recently, my mom, 66, and I, female 23, were talking about my old high school, and my mom was teasing me for doing poorly. Well, that's a strong start. When I tried to explain that I was putting in an effort, she wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise. saying that she knew I was lazy and staying up all night gaming and not paying attention to class. Pause for a squirrel moment. I showed my mom that court thing that upset me, and she strongly disagrees. She likes how the judge did it. She thinks that the judge had good points and that she handled it well and that the child needed that. So that was quite surprising. And my mom is like such a wonderful teacher that I would trust her judgment, but she liked the tone. She liked everything about it. I was often up late as I frequently had a lot of homework I struggled to understand, but I never fell asleep in class, and I'd often ask my friends to help with my homework late at night. Your mom should be helping you, not your friends. As we wound down from the spat with her telling me I need to shape up, conversation drifted between topics for a long time. Eventually, we came into a topic onto a topic of my messy handwriting. I joked that I just think too fast and my hands can't keep up. Relatable. And she laughs and says, "Oh yeah, we had a doctor try to help you with that as a kid. I have no recollection of that." I asked how old I was. I was 9. I asked what they did to help. Apparently, she doesn't remember much, given it was so long ago, but he prescribed me Adderall, and it helped. But I got too focused on non-productive things, in other words, handwriting, and she stopped giving them to me. So many things clicked for me. I've had so much trouble focusing on that kind of setting. I end up trying to focus so hard, I end up focusing on focusing. I know this feeling. Or I'm hearing it, but it feels like white noise. I'm telling you now, if you're in a relationship with someone with ADHD, both of you need to be okay with the phrase, "I'm sorry, I heard you, but I wasn't listening." Game changer. And the other person can't get annoyed. It needs to be like an understanding. Like, I heard you. I mean, I was listening. It might have looked like I was comprehending, but no comprehende. It didn't help that my teacher hated me because I had to ask her to repeat certain easy steps so frequently. I was pissed. We had a fight, which largely consisted of her yelling at me and saying I just had to buck up and use willpower. I told her that it was entirely her fault my grades were so poor throughout junior high and high school. She said it was my own fault for being lazy. I may have called her a bitch. I told her that she was the only lazy one in the room because she didn't actually put any effort into helping me beyond lecturing me about being lazy when she knew that at one point I'd been diagnosed and medicated for attention issues. So, am I the rascal for being upset with my mom over this? My friends think I was harsh with her, and my stepdad is pissed at me. My uncle, who I usually ask for advice, won't respond either. Where are you, my beloved new sound? There's a lot to unpack here. Where do I start? Okay, so first of all, completely relate on the handwriting thing. I hold my pen like this. When I was in grade 1, and like we say grade 0, which is the year before grade 1, my teachers and my parents got me a pencil grip, which was like one of those rubber things that like they've gotten so fancy now. Where do I find one just like from the 90s? This one. So I had these. I made it a toy. I would either throw it around the classroom. I would use it as an eraser. I would chew on it. I basically did whatever I could to not use the thing. And I still don't hold my pen properly to this day. So the messy handwriting thing, like her not holding her pen properly, totally understandable. It's also, as far as I know, quite a clear marker of fine motor skills, which she could have gone to OT for had her mom followed due process. Also, I literally never say process. I've been watching too much court TV, and now I would say process. The other thing is messy handwriting, worrying about it. Absolutely. I used to get the most beautiful notebooks, and then I would be too scared to use them because I didn't want my handwriting to be ugly. So I started buying ugly notebooks so that I can just write and not care about it. And my handwriting some days is beautiful, and my handwriting some days is awful. Mom should have been monitoring her homework. She should have been trying to work with her to understand where the problem was. Late at night, I think that the mom maybe wasn't doing enough monitoring there overall. I don't like that she said that her mom didn't do a good job. I think, like, I don't think that was the best way to end the conversation. Okay, so just looking at this from the surface, the big player in this is generations. Yes, her mom had her at what some consider an older age. I hear you. I can send you the StreamYard link if you want to jump on. I don't love Mel Gibbons, I don't know, 5-second lady. She talks about oh, Steve, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Hey, that's funny. I kind
Hello.
of saw the screen pop up and I was like, something changed there, but I thought it was just my screen sharing situation that I had messed up.
Sorry, no camera. I'm still kind of laying in bed.
No stress.
It's like noon right now.
But it's Sunday.
It is, yeah. So just going back for like my childhood, for example, or when I had my kids. So I had my kids when I was 20. So
That's quite young.
when she was 23 in that, so I would have been 43 in that letter, and my mom actually would have been like 64, 65. So I'm Gen X, my mom is a boomer, my kids are millennials. So going from that example, if my mom had kids in my kids' generations, so if a boomer, let's say, had millennial kids,
Yeah.
and thought, heard that and had their kids diagnosed going off of their own childhood. No, they're just being a little turd. They need to just focus. I'm not putting them on all this medication, and they're focusing on the wrong things now. So we're going to take them off the medication because that's not the problem.
Yeah.
And they don't have, so it's definitely a generational thing in my mind with that.
So one of the things that stands out for me is that I think it was like in sometime in the 70s or 80s, they were called so I don't know if you know who I'm talking about with this Mel person, Mel Gibson is an actor. Mel Robbins,
Mel
I think.
Gibson's an actor.
I was just like mixing up
the
names in my head.
motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Anthony Robbins.
No, but it's female. I think it's Mel Robbins.
Oh,
she's like
okay.
Not 5-second rule. Is it 5-second rule?
Gotcha. Sounds familiar, but not
Mel.
Not.
Okay, it is Mel Robbins. So she talks about I don't know what it is. I just don't gel with her. But there is a forgotten generation or lost generation, basically like women of a certain age. I think it was like from 41 or something that weren't diagnosed because ADHD wasn't like a recognized thing yet in women, because only boys had been studied. Boys were hyperactive, they were this, they were that, they were that. Girls don't always present the same way. Girls are more likely to be inattentive. It's not a lot of like inability to sit still. It can also be like overachieving, perfectionism, etc., etc. And so she is one of that like lost generation, forgotten generation, whatever they're calling themselves. And I think that given the mom's age, she would probably have a similar like take on it. The difficult thing is like the mom took her to the doctor, so she was trying, right? Like she didn't just shut down what the kid was doing. She was trying, but Adderall 15 years ago didn't exactly have a good reputation.
No, Adderall and what was the other one? Oh, God.
Methamphetamine.
The no, there was Adderall and it start with a P, was a Paxil.
Oh, I don't know. They're all different names here to the US. So like I'm on Vyvanse, which is Alvans or Elevans there, I think.
Yeah, I was on Adderall for a while. And then during COVID, they ran out. You couldn't find that anywhere.
Oh gosh.
The extended release, you could find the regular release, no issue. Extended release, you couldn't find. They was gone everywhere. And then when they get it in, sometimes they get in 30 milligrams, sometimes they get 25, sometimes they get 10, other times they get 30. So my doctor switched me to that methyl whatever. So I'm like, great, I'm taking meth. Yay.
Yeah, that's Ritalin, basically, I think.
They finally got the supply of Adderall back up. So my doctor asked if I wanted to go back. And I'm like, yes, please. Just go back to what I know. So.
But I know that Adderall has such a bad name there because there was that Netflix documentary I talked about where they said something. Oh, what was the name of the documentary? They basically made it that all ADHD meds are bad. Kids are hooked on them. Nobody needs it. It's big pharma trying to ship it to you.
Oh.
Blah, blah, blah. And
absolutely.
I was watching that like, you have no freaking idea. If you take ADHD meds and you don't feel anything, you don't feel any different, then you probably have ADHD. So if you're taking it and you are feeling different, you shouldn't take it. People completely misuse SSRIs. There are people like me that need SSRIs to literally stay alive. So
Ritalin, that's the other one that I couldn't think of.
Yeah. That's what I was on in the beginning.
Yeah. Both of those
Dominus
had really bad names. And that my son was he was like
Ritalin
8.
for me is fine. Like I didn't mind it. I just kept needing more. And then I was on like 4 tablets a day. It's an upper, so it wasn't ideal for me to just keep increasing. Yeah, so I started off on Ritalin, and obviously because of the addiction habits, I had to be very careful because Ritalin is, I mean, the fact that they gave it to a kid that was 8, like a little bit tricky, but I also kind of understand because that's when their like self-esteem and whatever's developing, and they need to be progressing in school because whatever they don't do in grade 1 and grade 2, that's going to be a big problem from then on.
I don't know if this is the case in South Africa, but here, one of the biggest issues with any medication is a lot of times they're prescribed by the primary care physician.
Yeah.
And it's done at kind of just a shot in the dark. They don't necessarily know what it's going to do with your other medication. And they don't know the dosage. They may overdose, they may underdose, they may be given the wrong medication. Like if my kids, if they start on something, I try to enforce that please go see an actual psychiatrist on any sort of mental health medication, whether it's antidepressants, anxiety, ADHD. See somebody who actually knows medication regarding your brain and how it's going to work and interact with everything else, and not just kind of hunt and peck for a method that just might work. Or whoever's dropping off the best lunch that week at the office.
So thankfully ours is a lot more regulated than that. There's not like, we don't have to have the whole like big pharma concerns, because there's like, I think it was quite a few years ago, our competitions commission did away with like competitive pricing. Also, we don't refer to our medication as drugs. Drugs are bad. Medication is good. So for me, I think the main thing that I see like on Reddit and in the chat rooms and all of that about mental health issues in the US is that the cost of a psychiatrist is just so unobtainable. Like, it's just out of reach.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have good health care, you probably can't afford to go to an actual psychiatrist. And if you don't have good health care, you probably can't afford to go to a therapist either.
What is like a ballpark amount for a psychiatrist, like for an hour?
Well, for my psychiatrist, I really only saw him for like 3 minutes at a time, and that was for meds. He only dispensed my meds at all. We didn't talk about anything that was going on. We're just talking about he did my med regulations, and that was like a 3 to 4 minute checkup. And my copay was 40 or 50, but I think the full thing was what insurance took was probably would have been about $250 for the visit.
Okay. So the copay wasn't too bad, but if
No.
you don't have medical,
if you don't have a copay,
for a 3 minute,
or basically what turns into a 3 minute visit just to get prescription refilled. And granted, that's only like every 3 months, but still, on top of what you're paying if you don't have medical insurance with prescription for the medication that you're getting to help offset the cost of the prescriptions, yeah, you're not going to be able to afford any of that. And that's why there's, all the homeless people are unmedicated, and people that are lower income are unmedicated or self-medicate by smoking one thing or the other, or injecting one thing or the other, trying to calm down the demons and get on with life. Yeah.
it's always so crazy to me. Like, I'm sitting at the bottom of Africa where we are supposed to supposedly be so underdeveloped and so far behind in terms of like what we were told in movies and TV by the US. And we have free healthcare for like if you earn over a certain amount, you can't make use of it. But even that one psychiatrist visit is less than what we would pay for medical aid. And then also, like, we have banking apps. We don't have to go to the bank. We don't use checks. We order our groceries online. Like,
right. We can do that.
How is there not an app?
I do most of my banking through an app. I haven't written a check in I don't know how long, but I prefer to go to the grocery store, and I don't trust these kids there to pick out vegetables and fruit. I'm picky that way. I don't like bruised fruit or, slightly wilted lettuce. I'm a little picky that way, but if something's a little too close to the expiration date, like, no,
I hear you.
God.
But here's the reason why I actually don't even care, and that is because I don't like people. So
right. So I go in there with my headphones in.
I can't believe how long it took me in life to realize that you can go to a mall with like earphones and it's fine. Nobody cares. What is my son's epilepsy meds were $3,000
without insurance.
Oh, got you, without insurance. With insurance, we paid $350 a month and had to make visits every 3 months to remed.
Yep, because a lot of these months, like with Adderall, it's a controlled substance, so you can only get 3 months at a time, and they have to write individual month prescriptions.
Yeah.
That the pharmacy then has to place each month on hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
so you can't do like
for us it would be like, you said it was $250. Okay, so for us it would be about half of $250 to see a psychiatrist. This is how it was for me. Half of that to see a psychiatrist, that my medical aid covered, so that was fine. I get 15 therapy sessions a year that are covered. for whatever reason, ADHD is not seen as a chronic illness. I cannot figure it out. And then what my psychiatrist did was my psychologist emailed her my background so that we didn't have to spend too much time on that. But I still had like, I think I've spoken to her for about probably 4 hours in total, an hour at a time. And then she would touch base with my GP, who would then be able to give me, we have to get the scripts monthly, which, like, whoever created this system that an ADHD person has to remember to email their doctor for a script, go and physically collect the script, because the doctor can't email the script back to you. You have to get in your car and you have to go get that script, and then you have to take that physical script to the pharmacy. Whoever created that does not have ADHD. I can get essentially Ambien via email delivered to my house, but I can't get my meds that like are arguably less dangerous than Ambien. Anyway, so the doctor then sends me that email every month for free. I just have to see her like once every 6 months, and that's I would say probably about $45 maybe.
Does your psychiatrist act in the role as a therapist as well, or do you see a separate therapist, or if you saw one, do you see?
I see a psychologist. I've been going to her for like 7 years or so. She is the freaking best. She's had my back through bad psychiatrists, through whatever. And she's probably about 40 a session. I get 15 of those free a year. And then the rest I pay for. But like, it's well worth it. Like, honestly, if everyone could have a therapist, a good therapist, I'm not talking about the one that is advertising chats and whatever.
Right.
Also, if I ever happen to have a sponsorship from them, someone needs to do a welfare check. I will never take that sponsorship. And if I do, something's wrong. But if everyone could have a good therapist, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, I was seeing one that I could have gotten it through my insurance, but true crime and all that. I told her I don't want anything on the books and all. I just prefer to pay cash and just not have my name recorded at all. Just, me go in and talk to her, and then that be the end of it. And then see her. So I paid her cash each time. We started out it was $75 a session for an hour session. And I saw her for 3 years. During that time, she had to increase her fees. So by the time it was done, it was $125 an hour. And she had to increase across the board for all of her clients.
What?
So, yeah.
That's the price of my psychiatrist, actually.
Yep.
The 75, I mean.
Yep.
125 is, oh my gosh, that's like almost a medical aid payment. That is wild. Okay, let's take a break from angry.
Back to lighthearted.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the little video thing. Mics are going to mute when I hit play, if I can find it.
2, 3, 4. Ever wonder if you're a rascal or if ADHD's to blame? You can't censor yourself like we've censored this song. Your focus in life is a crying shame. Am I a rascal or just ADHD? It's hard to know which one it could be. But don't you worry, 'cause we'll figure it out together on this podcast, no doubt.
Okay, that makes everyone feel better, right? That's a good one. I've switched it up. I'm lying. ChatGPT switched it up for me. Am I the rascal for struggling to maintain a friendship with ADHD during the pandemic? I am not sure if I'm being unreasonable, but I could use some input from others with similar experiences. I work in a high-pressure sales job that requires a lot of energy and focus. I've always been introverted and need plenty of alone time to recharge. My best friend, Rachel, on the other hand, is a natural extrovert and thrives on social interaction. Since the pandemic began, Rachel and I haven't seen each other much. She lives a few hours away, and we've both been busy with work and other responsibilities. While I've been able to manage my time and stay in touch with her, it's harder for Rachel. She misses the social connection we used to have, and she often feels neglected when I don't reach out to her. The truth is, I struggle to remember to stay in touch with people. This is a real thing, by the way. My ADHD diagnosis wasn't that long ago, so I'm not that well versed on how I communicate these sorts of things. It's not an excuse, just a reality. I try to explain this to Rachel, but I'm not sure she fully understands. I don't want to hurt her feelings or be a bad friend, but I can only do so much. Rachel's job is also stressful, and the pandemic has made things even harder for her. I wish I could be there for her more, but it's hard to balance my work and personal life. I don't want to lose her friendship, but I also need to take care of myself. I just don't know if I'm doing the right thing or if there's more I should be doing. Wait, it should do a little thumbs up thing now. Okay, so what's your verdict, Steve? Did you forget to listen?
No, I listened. I'm surprised how many. I know several extroverts that became introverts during the pandemic, and it's funny. My daughter was a classic extrovert. Now they barely leave their house. She doesn't people. She's like you. She doesn't go to the grocery store. She has them delivered. She doesn't. They
Yep.
all family events. They stay for a short period of time. They make their appearance, stay for a little while, then they're gone. It's just away from people so they can recharge, get ready for their work week. Mm-hmm. I, however, love the pandemic.
I loved it as well. I mean, not like, listen.
Not for
that.
If
go
it wasn't
into
for the
sad
death
stuff. Yeah. I'm not going to go into the sad stuff because I was actively doing news reporting and anchoring and whatever during that time. And there's stuff that I can never unsee. And it was absolutely terrible. And it was a constant state of anxiety. However, I did appreciate, I don't know if you guys had a, what is it called? Curfew.
I don't remember if there was around here or not.
I loved the curfew. I am an in bed by 9 kind of person. But I'm also a person who has a lot of trouble saying, listen, I got to head out right now because I just don't want to people anymore. So it was so nice to be able to be like, oh, sorry, I just got to head because silly rules. Oh, sorry, I can't make it to the social event because, I might have been around someone who was positive. And I mean, I did 11 tests because I was around people 11 times that were positive. So it's not like I was always exaggerating.
Did you have to do the ones that went all the way up and tickled your brain?
I did that for the first one, and I think it was a false negative.
That was horrible.
That was horrible. That was horrible. But because there was a shortage, my age and my health meant that I wasn't like a priority. So I only did them if I had a definite positive contact. And then they were doing a lot more throat ones at one stage. I can't remember which order it was, but they were difficult to get hold of and they all came back negative. At one stage, my GP was like, I don't know, maybe they're going to write about you one day because somehow you managed to dodge it so many times. Like, I don't know how. And then I got it last year, November, and I felt like I was dying and it was freaking awful. But I got it in Paris. So I got to see Paris. I don't really care. I was fine. I survived. Okay,
Did
but
you have
back
to
to
quarantine
the
in the hotel room?
no, I literally realized I had it on the plane on the way back.
Oh.
Like,
and then
yeah.
The whole plane got positive on the way 3 days later.
Yeah, most likely. I did my due diligence and I like let everyone know that I could, but my doctor was like, we're not really tracking anymore, so it's okay. Can't really give comments. Don't worry, got you. And we're gonna keep it light now. We're doing light, no more shade. But yeah, my doctor said we're not tracking anymore. And that was kind of like, cool. Well, I've done what I can do. But back to the task at hand. Am I a terrible friend? I kind of have to vote yes, you are. I kind of do. Because, so here's the one thing is like an object permanence thing. If we don't see the thing, we forget it exists. However, in order to be a somewhat decent human in society, you can't just say, like, I forgot you existed, unless your friend also has ADHD, and then you mutually forget each other exists. And it's like a brand new friendship every 6 months, right? Like, everything goes back to how it was, and it's perfect. If your friend is not, also, if you've done any part of the 12 steps, you'll know about like rainy day friends. Like, there will be people who will always be happy to come to you when they need help, and who will always be willing to go out with you and spend time with you if they're gonna drink or whatever. But then when you need them, they're not there. In this situation, her friend has been an amazing friend to her and has been very understanding that she kind of forgets she exists. And now that this friend needs her, she's like, I'm sorry, my ADHD, sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good.
And the thing is, like, there are things, and I definitely fell into this pattern when I first got diagnosed, was like, there's so much you can get away with if you just say, oh, my ADHD. Like, it becomes a bit easy. Like, a lot of my quirks, my personality quirks, positive and negative, can be attributed to ADHD, but sometimes I am just a little bit of a not great person. I'll admit it. And I can't just say, oh, it's my ADHD. Oh, sorry, my ADHD. Haha. Like, you're an adult. You gotta be in therapy. Like, it's one or the other, right? Like, my therapist will call me out for things. So friendship takes work, but the rewards are well worth it. And you know what's the weird thing? I'm definitely one of those people who, like, if I'm friends with you, I'm all in. I'm 100,000,000,000% in. I will be there for you no matter what. But if you bail on me 2 or 3 times when I need the same, I'm out. I'm not even gonna, like, I think it was like, especially during that time of the world, there would be friends who I'd message and I'd be like, hey, I'm so sorry I haven't checked in. And then I realized, like, hold on, you didn't check in either. Why am I always the one apologizing? Like, I have object permanence.
Right. Right. Oh my God, I haven't heard from you in months. What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize your phone only took calls in.
Exactly. I'm sorry, I didn't realize this was a one-way street. But as you were, like, I just got so sick of apologizing. And the funny thing is, like, just in 2019, I was 29 and I had mental crisis. I'm not in the place I wanted to be in my career. I'm not married. I don't have children. We don't own a house. So blah, 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 blah. One of the things is, like, I don't even have hobbies. Now I have like 25,000 hobbies. Turned 30 and I didn't care. I did not. It was almost like overnight. I was like, you know what? If you don't message me for 3 months, I'm not going to message you and be like, I'm so sorry I haven't checked in. If you haven't thought of me for 3 months and I haven't thought of you, I'm sorry. I guess it wasn't that good.
Right. Maybe you'll get you'll get the obligatory text on your birthday, maybe.
But even that, like, when I deleted social media, I forgot about people's birthdays. And you know what? When people get a thing on their Facebook page on their birthday, they don't really notice who did or didn't. They're not even going to know. 2020 forced people to play their true hands when it came to friends. Yep. Because you had to make so much effort. And it was hard. And we didn't have the bubble system. But I guess if I did, like, my best friend in the whole world lives in England. I've seen her once. She literally just met Vaughan. We're getting married this year. She just met Vaughan 2 years ago. And our friendship is absolutely fine, stands the test of time. If we don't message each other for months, one of us will check in. We'll send each other a random like TikTok or Instagram, I don't know, one of those things, and it'll be fine. But of the people who were here, a lot of them I don't even talk to anymore because, like, pandemic.
Oh, I was just going to say, I went through Facebook, I think, during the pandemic and got rid of like all the people that were only just Facebook friends or acquaintances and basically whittled it down to just, I think I've got like 35 and now it's just like 90% family and a few,
Wow,
maybe a few friends. And that's mainly how I keep up with some. Facebook and Instagram is how I get like some pictures of my like grandkids that, because like coworkers, like my daughter-in-law works in a daycare, so she'll get some pictures of my grandkids tagged for her. And I already told them when they were little, I don't care who else is in the picture. If I see a picture of one of my grandkids, I'm taking it. So it's just getting saved on my computer if it's got one of my grandkids in it. So yeah, so that's how I get all along with those. So that's the main reason why I keep Facebook and Instagram.
So mine is the opposite. When I was doing radio, I was trying to like grow my brand and whatnot. Another thing I just stopped caring about at 30. I have 1,907 friends on Facebook, and I probably know about 10 of them. And so my Facebook is just like cluttered. Like the only reason I use it is Marketplace and to phone my grandpa. those are the two things. Dominus says that's okay. We all lose friends along the path. My grandpa can't even, like, my gran used to be the tech whiz. She taught me how to FaceTime, which is really funny. But when she passed away, he didn't know how to do any of it, so he can't message back. So I literally have to phone. And he can sometimes phone back on Facebook, but it depends if it's like logged in or not. And then also often I'll just rather go to like phoning his landline because I don't have Facebook all the time. So like he's got more social media than I do. It's brilliant. As you get older, your friend circle closes slowly, and I'm okay with that. I am all about quality over quantity. Like I would rather have 2 or 3 really good friends that get me than like 50 friends. Let's face it, I'm not keeping up with 50 people. It's not happening. I struggle with like just 2 families. There's a lot of families. Like Fawn and I each have a pretty small family. And we struggle to keep up with 2 families. Like it's 2 lots of people. The trash always takes itself out.
Socializing with that many friends just sounds exhausting.
It does. This thing that Dominus said, the trash always takes itself out, is true. That is the most true thing ever about sobriety. Oh my gosh. When you are no longer going to get drunk with people, you will see how quickly people stop wanting to hang out. And people just cannot, like, I don't know what it's like there, but we live in the Winelands. There's a big drinking culture here. People cannot fathom a world where you don't drink. They cannot wrap their heads around it. They think that you must have such a boring life and that you just don't know what to do. And like, what do you even spend your time on? Surprisingly, like,
not drink?
Exactly. And like, how can things be enjoyable if you're not drinking during them? And I'm like, well, surprisingly, like, even when I was a little binge drunk on the weekends, there are things like Ultra Music Festival that I never drank at because I wanted to remember and enjoy it. I can still do that. Also, Red Bull can really make you feel like you're having a good party without the consequences. If I really wanted to go to a club, which I don't think is a normal thing for me ever again anyway.
Ask him, have you ever had a fit of social anxiety? I mean, that makes you feel like you're pretty high.
Yeah. Panic attacks cut off the oxygen to your brain pretty well. You should try it sometime. Also, heads up, you're going to feel like you're having a heart attack. You're going to get rushed to the hospital. The hospital's going to tell you you're overreacting. They may or may not section you. Hard to tell. Depends on the day.
Your pupils are going to dilate. You're going to have a cold sweat. It's going to have a lot of the same symptoms.
Exactly. So when I used to like spend a lot of weekends in clubs, I would be the DJ because I DJ'd. So I would be in my own little box and there'd be no people near me and I could control who came in and out of the box. And then at one stage, like if I went to a club without being the DJ, the social anxiety of that many people, and my brain is such a messed up place that like I automatically assume I'm going to be in like a crowd crush, a stampede. Like something's going to happen and I'm going to be so far from the exit. Never mind that when I was in a DJ box, I was literally locked in a box. If anything ever happened, I was going to be the only person that did not get out. But my brain's like, crowds cannot. Social anxiety. Why are people looking at me? Why am I holding the thing like this instead of this? Why can I not dance anymore? Like, I'm pretty sure I used to dance. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just, no.
2, 3, 4. Ever wonder if you're a rascal or if ADHD's to blame? You can't censor yourself like we've censored this song. Your focus in life is a crying shame. Am I a rascal or just ADHD? It's hard to know which one it could be. But don't you worry, 'cause we'll figure it out together on this podcast, no doubt.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And this guy, the guy that sang it is a guy on Upwork, and he was so patient and he laughed so hard at the lyrics because the lyrics were obviously written by ChatGPT. It was not me. Like, I'm not going to take credit. AI did a great job. But I had to keep doing different iterations of it because I was just like, no, it's not making sense. No, this isn't going to offend people. And this is what we settled on. And I love it. Problem is, I'm the a-hole in the room and I know it. You can just say it's your ADHD. It's fine. I have ADHD. Okay, here's the next one. It's also a friend one. There seems to be a theme. I know this isn't the Am I the Rascal subreddit? Okay, so this is one that I would have changed because it's not from that Reddit, so it might be in a closed sub. So there might be like name changes and whatever. I need some ADHD peers to tell me if I'm being a rascal. So here goes nothing, I guess. Also, sorry for the ensuing wall of text. Man, I love ADHD subs. They just understand. Like, no one's going to read this whole thing. I'm a very typical introvert. I'm also a teacher, which under normal circumstances mean that I need a ton of me time alone to recharge. Teaching in 2020 means that I'm constantly running on empty and I don't have the emotional capacity for pretty much anyone. Cue my best friend. We'll call her Leslie. Leslie is a stereotypical extrovert, sorry. She needs to be around people pretty much all the time. This is like the same thing as the last time. And have lots of people in her life. Since the pandemic really started showing its true awfulness, we haven't seen each other. We live in different states about 2 hours away, so it's far enough that travel would be pretty stupid. Plus, I'm a teacher who's back in the classroom with in-person students. My exposure is really high, so this means we haven't seen each other for any significant amount of time for at least 9 months. I think this has impacted her way more than it's impacted me because of the differences in our personalities. Recently, because of my crazy workload, I haven't been reaching out to her to initiate communication because I struggle remembering what day it is and where I'm supposed to be at any given moment, let alone indulging in the luxury of social time. This makes her upset, and she then says she leaves me alone because she knows I'm busy. Oh, that sounds more passive-aggressive than I expected. For extended periods, even though I tell her she doesn't need to do that. She gets hurt when I don't reach out, but I'm extremely bad at that, normally because ADHD. I know she appreciates when I reach out to her first, but I've also tried to communicate to her that ADHD makes it super hard to remember those things. I was only recently diagnosed. I don't think she fully understands what ADHD is, and I'm not choosing to be this way. It doesn't help that her job is also really stressful, and she doesn't get as much people time as she needs thanks to the pandemic. I just don't know if I'm using ADHD as an excuse and being a horrible friend, or if this is legit and I need to find a better way to communicate to her that I don't have the capacity to meet her expectation right now of all times, because this is something I'm already struggling with. I hear a lot of me, I. She thinks that she should get a pass for being busy and struggling with work. Also, you can tell how long this podcast came into my head because like it's been 4 years and we're reading things that are like current to 2020. Whoops. Oh, I didn't do the hold music. You're right there, Paul. Steve, are you
What's that?
alive?
Yeah, I'm fine. What happened?
Okay, it sounded like you fell, so I was like,
Oh
that's
no,
concerning.
I put my iPad down for a second because I wanted to grab my computer for something.
Yeah, I just heard kadoof, and then I was like, are you all right there? And then there was silence, and I was like, this is not the way I want the stream to go. Like, have you been robbed? What is happening? Imagine someone just like steals your iPad and they're just logged into StreamYard and we land up with this random person. Why is she teaching if it's so hard to begin with, but you lost me halfway through because, yeah, sounds like a you problem. This is the thing. I feel bad that she's struggling, and I feel bad that her ADHD diagnosis is new and she's still trying to figure things out, because I understand what that feels like. It is difficult and it's confusing and it feels like your whole life is a lie, and that there were like, I saw this example where it's like being medicated doesn't do the puzzle for you, but it shows you where the corners are. Like, it kind of feels like when I first got diagnosed, it was going to be this magic pill that was going to fix all of my problems and everything was going to make sense. And I was suddenly going to be good at all the things that everyone told me I had so much potential for. And then I wasn't. And then I also just, like, I don't think I'm that good at socializing when I'm medicated. So, like, I need to be unfiltered in order for like conversation to flow, which is also why it's good to do streams at night, because all the meds are gone, I'm unfiltered, etc. But once I was like medicated, I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this anymore. I don't know how to talk to people. Like my face feels like it's pulling weird. Like I don't know what's happening. But also like her friend is going through it and she's just like, yeah, but I'm busy and I have ADHD. So like, I'm sorry. You're just like not important right now. And I need you to just understand.
Excuses.
And this is the thing, right? This is why this podcast popped into my head, because I was like, at what point is it going to be a fact that like I'm using ADHD to get where I need to as an excuse? And at what point is it just like, no, actually ADHD, like it is a thing and it's fine. Yep, right meds smooth things out, but you still need to be a good friend and put in the work. And that sounds like a rainy day friend if I've ever heard one. Everything's so hard for me. I just need you to understand. I'm sorry that things are hard for you, but I need you to understand that things are hard for me. That actually made sense. I did not filter that thought at all, and it made complete sense, which is magical. Absolutely magical.
It's an Adderall miracle.
Except that I'm like completely unmedicated by this point. I took my tablet at 9. Yeah, I won't stream like the lunchtime streams. If I do them, you'll see that like I'm not as quick processing. Like everything's slowed down. I'm not very creative either, which is good because creativity for me is just where procrastination blooms. If I get a burst of creativity, I'm going to be painting. I'm going to be playing piano. I'm going to be doing whatever hobby, DIY, I don't know, whatever the hobby of the week is. I'm going to dive into that because I'm in creative flow, and work and creative flow do not mix. I need to not be creative. Okay, the last thing before I say goodbye. This is a post from a closed community, but neither of you right now qualify, but if you're on catch up and you're an ADHD female, highly recommend the ADHD woman subreddit. Absolutely love it. Mods are great. People are blunt. They will tell you you are just being a rascal if you are. And they'll say it in a nice way. They'll give it in a bit of like a criticism sandwich sometimes, but it works. So it says, whenever we gather groups of neurodivergent people together, The idea that we can't socialize well begins to seem rather silly. We certainly don't socialize like neurotypicals do, but we do have our own set of social rules as well as consequences for breaking them. We don't do small talk. We enjoy parallel play and shared activities that don't require continual conversation. When we talk, it gets deep quickly. This happened exactly on this podcast. We discuss what's real, our struggles, fears, desires, obsessions. We appreciate a good info dump, and there's no such thing as oversharing. We swap same stories, sharing a time when we felt similarly in our own life, not as a competition, but how we reflect how well we are listening to each other. And let me tell you, Vaughn and I have thought about that a few times. Like, don't always relate your thing back to me. I mean, but don't always relate my thing back to you. But it's like, I do it as well. I just did it right then. It's such a frustrating thing sometimes, but it's also like the beauty of being neurodivergent is like everything relates to something. And if people can follow that same train, you don't have to explain the train anymore. And they can see how you got from how a train was built to the fact that Thomas is a weird name. Like, they'll get that
Right.
part.
How a train was built to why squirrels put things in trees.
Because the trees go over the train tracks and there's sometimes squirrels are killed
Right.
by. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, guys, chat soon. If you're on Rewatch Crew, send me Reddit things. Let's get some more balloons for now. Also, apparently, according to YouTube, 40% of people watching the live streams are not subscribed. So why aren't the balloons coming? I'm never that person, but I'm going to be that person and say, please like, comment, subscribe, because I really want money. Thank you.
Bye, Dominic. Bye, Vicky.
Bye.